The executive opened the New York Times over breakfast. Sunday morning. Coffee still hot. He turned to page A7. Then he stopped breathing. Full-page advertisement. Black text on white background. Headline in bold. The apology Paramount Pictures rejected. Below it, smaller, on May 15th, I was instructed to apologize for public criticism of studio practices. Below is the apology I submitted. It was rejected as insufficient. The public can decide. Then the full text, signed at the bottom, Marlon Brando. The executive's hand started shaking. Coffee spilled onto the page. He didn't notice. He picked up the phone, dialed. 3 rings. We have a problem. 2 weeks earlier. Marlon Brando sat across from a journalist. Routine interview. New film premiering in 6 weeks. Standard publicity. The journalist had done his research, asked good questions. The conversation flowed naturally. Then, you've worked with several major studios over the years. How has the industry changed? Brando considered. The business has gotten more corporate, less about filmmaking, more about asset management. Asset management? Studios used to make films. Now they manage properties. Actors are inventory. Directors are contractors. Art is secondary to quarterly earnings. The journalist wrote this down. That sounds cynical. It's observational. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm saying it's what it is. Do you see that as a problem? I see it as reality. Whether it's a problem depends on whether you think films should be art or products. The journalist leaned forward. And which do you think they should be? Both. But when product comes first, art suffers. And when art suffers, eventually so does product. You can't manufacture passion. The interview continued, moved to other topics: the film, the character, Brando's process, standard material. The article published 3 days later, most of it innocuous, but the studio comments got pulled for the headline, Brando, Studios Treat Actors as Inventory. By noon, Paramount's executive offices had seen it. By 2 p.m., they'd scheduled an emergency meeting. By 4 p.m., they'd decided on their response. Brando needed to apologize, publicly, or face consequences. The call came to Brando's house at 6 p.m. Mr. Brando, this is Jonathan Pierce from Paramount. We need to schedule a meeting, tomorrow, 10 a.m., our offices. Regarding? The interview you gave to the Times. What about it? We'd prefer to discuss it in person. I'll be there. The call ended. Brando set down the phone, sat there for a moment, thinking. Then he picked up a different phone, called his lawyer. They're upset about the interview. What did you say that was actionable? Nothing, just opinions. Then what do they want? To discuss it, tomorrow at 10. Want me there? No, I'll handle it. The conference room was designed to intimidate. Long table, high-backed chairs, large windows overlooking the lot. 3 executives already seated when Brando arrived, plus 1 lawyer in the corner, taking notes. Brando sat down, said nothing, waited. Jonathan Pierce spoke first. Marlon, thank you for coming.
Brando nodded. We've seen the Times article, the quotes attributed to you. They're accurate. That's part of the problem. You publicly criticized Paramount, called us corporate, suggested we treat actors as inventory. I suggested the industry does, not specifically Paramount. The headline says otherwise. I don't write headlines. Pierce's jaw tightened. Regardless, you've damaged our reputation, suggested we exploit talent. That's unacceptable. It's my observation. It's slander. It's opinion, protected speech. The lawyer in the corner looked up, met Pierce's eyes, shook his head slightly. Not slander. Can't sue. Pierce changed tactics. Marlon, you have 3 active contracts with us, 2 films in development, 1 currently in post-production. Your relationship with this studio matters. I'm aware. Then you understand our position. We can't have talent publicly attacking us. I didn't attack you. I answered a question honestly. That honesty has consequences. Brando looked at him, waiting. Pierce leaned forward. We're asking you to issue a public apology, retract your statements, affirm that Paramount respects its talent and that your comments were taken out of context. They weren't taken out of context. Then say you misspoke. I didn't misspeak. Another executive spoke up, older, calmer. Marlon, let me be direct. You apologize, publicly, or we terminate every contract we have with you. The film's in development, the one in post, all of it. You'll be in breach. We'll pursue damages, and we'll make sure every studio in town knows you're difficult to work with. The room went quiet. Brando sat there, hands folded, expression neutral. So, I apologize, or I'm done. Yes. And if I refuse, then you're done. Brando stood. I'll write something. Pierce blinked. You will? I'll have it to you by Friday. We'll need to approve it before publication. Of course. The executives looked at each other, relief visible. This had been easier than expected. Thank you, Marlon. We appreciate your cooperation. Brando walked out. The door closed behind him. Pierce smiled. See? Everyone has a price. His is keeping his contracts. The lawyer in the corner said nothing, but something about how easily Brando had agreed made him uneasy. Brando sat at his desk at home, blank paper in front of him, pen in hand. They wanted an apology. He'd write one, just not the one they expected. He started with the structure. An apology needed certain elements: acknowledgement, regret, resolution. He'd include all of them. Technically. He wrote for 2 hours, revised for another hour, read it through 3 times, then typed it up. Clean, professional, exactly what they'd asked for. Technically. He read the final version once more. To whom concerns, I apologize. I apologize that speaking honestly about industry practices is considered an attack on the industry itself. I apologize that studios have created an environment where observation is mistaken for assault. I apologize to Paramount Pictures for suggesting they treat actors as inventory. Upon reflection, I realize I was imprecise. They treat actors as assets, which is somehow worse. Inventory can be sold. Assets are leveraged. I apologize for not being clearer in my original statements. When I said the industry has become more corporate, I should have specified corporations optimize for profit, not art. There's nothing wrong with profit, but when profit is the only metric, art becomes incidental. Paramount has mastered this optimization. I apologize to any actors who felt I was speaking only for myself. I wasn't. I was speaking for every performer who's been told their creative input isn't welcome because it conflicts with marketing strategy. For every artist who's watched their work edited not for narrative coherence, but for runtime that allows an extra screening per day. For every person who signed a contract thinking they were joining a creative partnership and discovered they'd joined a corporation. I apologize for implying change is impossible. It isn't. Studios could choose to prioritize art alongside profit. They could treat talent as collaborators rather than as costs to be managed.
They could remember that films become classics not because they were efficiently produced, but because someone cared enough to make them great. I apologize that this apology will be considered insufficient, but I cannot apologize for telling the truth, and I cannot retract observations that remain accurate. Sincerely, Marlon Brando. He read it one more time. Perfect. Every sentence structured as apology. Every sentence escalating the original criticism. They'd reject it. Of course they would. That was the point. He sealed it in an envelope, delivered it to Paramount Friday morning. Jonathan Pierce opened the envelope at his desk, started reading. By the third paragraph, his face was red. By the fifth, he was standing. Get the others, now. 10 minutes later, all three executives stood around his desk, reading the apology, silent. Finally, one spoke. Is he serious? He delivered it with a straight face, Pierce said. This isn't an apology. This is an editorial. This is worse than the original interview. Pierce picked up the phone, dialed Brando's number. It rang 8 times. No answer. He tried again. Same result. Get his lawyer on the phone. 5 minutes later, Brando's lawyer was on speaker. Your client submitted an apology. Yes, he told me. This is unacceptable. It's not an apology, it's an attack. He apologized multiple times. I counted at least 7 separate apologies. He apologized for things we didn't do. He apologized sarcastically. Sarcasm is subjective. The text reads as apology. Tell him to write a real one. We want a genuine retraction, affirming respect for Paramount. No editorializing. We want it by Monday. I'll relay the message. The call ended. Monday came. No new apology arrived.
Pierce tried calling Brando again. No answer. He sent a messenger to Brando's house. The messenger returned with a message. Mr. Brando says he submitted his apology as requested. If it's insufficient, he understands the studio will need to make their decision. Tuesday morning, emergency executive meeting. So what do? Terminate his contracts like we said we would. And take the PR hit? Paramount fires Brando for honest interview? We fire him for refusing to apologize. He didn't refuse. He apologized. We rejected it. Silence. So we're trapped. He trapped us. Pierce stared at the apology still sitting on his desk, reading it again. The structure, brilliant. The execution, perfect. Every sentence apologetic in form, devastating in content. He knew we'd reject it, Pierce said quietly. What? He wrote it knowing we'd have to reject it, which means he's planning something else. Like what? Pierce didn't answer, but he had a sinking feeling they were about to find out. Wednesday morning, Brando made a phone call. New York Times advertising department? I'd like to place a full-page advertisement. Certainly. What section? Main News, Sunday edition. That's quite expensive. How much? The clerk quoted a figure that would buy a car. I'll have a check to you by Friday. And the content? I'll deliver the text tomorrow. Thursday, Brando's lawyer delivered the ad copy to the Times, along with a certified check. The ad manager read it, looked up at the lawyer. Is this real? It's real. Paramount's going to lose their minds. That's not our concern. We should probably run this by legal. It's his own statement, his own apology. He's publishing it. Nothing libelous, nothing actionable. He's simply sharing what he wrote and noting that it was rejected. The ad manager read it again. This is going to be huge. Yes, it is. Sunday morning, the ad ran. By 9 a.m., every executive at Paramount had seen it. By 10 a.m., they were on emergency calls. By 11 a.m., every newspaper in the country was running stories about it. Brando publishes rejected apology. Paramount demanded retraction, got public relations disaster. Actor's apology reignites studio criticism debate. Talk shows picked it up,
Radio discussed it, television news ran segments. Everyone had an opinion. The public read the apology. Most of them thought it was reasonable. Some of them thought it was brilliant. Almost everyone wondered, what did Paramount want him to say instead? Paramount's phones rang constantly, press wanting comment, actors calling to support Brando, industry insiders asking what happened. The studio issued a statement, "We have no comment on Mr. Brando's advertisement." But the damage was done. They looked like they demanded groveling. He looked principled. Thursday, 1 week after the ad ran, Pierce sat in his office, staring at the phone. Legal had been clear, no case for breach. Brando had apologized, they'd rejected it, he'd published that fact. All legal. They couldn't sue, couldn't terminate, couldn't do anything without making it worse.
The lawyer knocked, entered. Pierce, we need to make a decision about Brando's contracts. What decision? Do we move forward or not? Pierce was quiet for a long time. If we terminate, he wins. We look like we're retaliating. If we don't terminate, he wins. We backed down. He already won, the moment we demanded the apology. The lawyer sat down. So what do we do? Nothing. We let it die. We don't terminate. We don't extend. We finish the existing contracts, and we don't sign new ones. Quietly. And if people ask why we're not working with him anymore, we say creative differences. We say scheduling. We say anything except the truth. Which is? Pierce looked at the framed copy of Brando's ad on his wall. He'd hung it there. Reminder. The truth is, he beat us. He turned our ultimatum into our surrender, and we never saw it coming. 2 weeks after the ad, Brando's lawyer called him. Paramount's called 3 times. What do they want? To move past this, their words. Meaning? They want you to stop. Stop what? I published once. That's what I said. They said they meant generally. Stop talking about it. Stop bringing it up. Brando was quiet. What did you tell them? That I'd relay the message. Tell them this. They wanted an apology. They got one. If they didn't like it, that's not my problem. We're done discussing it. They're worried you'll do more interviews, say more things. Then they shouldn't give me things to say. The lawyer smiled. I'll tell them that, diplomatically. Tell them exactly that. I'm not diplomatic. The call ended. Brando hung up, went back to reading his script. Next film, different studio. He'd already moved on. Paramount hadn't. They were still trying to figure out what happened. Months later, industry party, Pierce saw Brando across the room. Their eyes met. Pierce looked away first, moved to a different area. Brando stayed where he was, talking to a director. Didn't acknowledge Pierce at all. Later, someone asked Pierce why Paramount wasn't working with Brando anymore. Creative differences, Pierce said. The line they'd agreed on. Shame. That last film did well. Yes, it did. So what really happened? Pierce looked at his drink. We gave him an ultimatum. Sign or you're done. He found a third option we didn't anticipate. Which was? Compliance that looked like defiance, or defiance that looked like compliance. We still haven't figured out which. Sounds like Brando won. He did. Completely. He wrote exactly what we asked for. An apology. Just not the apology we wanted. And when we rejected it, he made our rejection the story. So you learned something. Yes. Never back Marlon Brando into a corner. He doesn't fight his way out. He redefines the corner until you're the one trapped. Years later, film students studied the incident. The apology became famous, taught in classes about public relations, about power dynamics, about how to turn compliance into resistance. The text was published in books, analyzed in essays, quoted in documentaries.
Paramount never mentioned it publicly. The executives who demanded the apology moved on to other studios, other careers. But the story followed them. You're the ones who tried to make Brando apologize? How did that work out? It became a cautionary tale about corporate overreach, about underestimating artists, about thinking you can control someone by threatening their career. The apology itself remained perfect. Every word chosen precisely, every sentence constructed to sound contrite while being absolutely uncompromising. I apologize that this apology will be considered insufficient. That line became the most quoted because it acknowledged the rejection before it happened. Brando had known they'd reject it, written it anyway, planned for that rejection. He'd turned their ultimatum into their trap. He'd given them exactly what they asked for, just in no way they could accept. And when they rejected it, he'd made that rejection public, made them explain why an apology wasn't good enough, made them look unreasonable for demanding something more. In a conference room at Paramount, 3 executives told Marlon Brando to apologize or lose everything. He wrote an apology. They rejected it. He published it. And they learned what everyone else already knew. You don't give Marlon Brando ultimatums, because he'll find the option you didn't offer and make you wish you'd never asked. The studio said, apologize or you're done. Brando published the apology they rejected, and they were the ones who ended up done.